Hey there, I want to take you into my studio and just kind of, show you around. It's been a long time that I've lived here and worked in this studio, about 3 years now, and a little over 3 years. And I think it's high time you got to see a little around, and hopefully it can inspire you. This is not a craft space. It's not really a um, hobby room. It's really a working space. So you're gonna see, as you can see, I've got filming stuff. I'm using my iPhone right now, which I don't typically use. So the sound quality is a little different, specifically so that you can see everything set up as it is. So you can see my camera equipment, my microphones, all of the things that I use. And then also you can see that I've got 3 desks in here, and I've got an area for me to be having personal creative outlet, and I can have a space for working on the computer, and I can have a space for creating, and I can keep all of my studio stuff. And I have a lot of things because I teach mixed media, which means that I have a range of creative stuff. And then I also need things to inspire myself and help me to learn and grow. And so there's a little bit of everything. So I'll show you around, and this is just keeping it real. Everything isn't perfect. This is just, I spent about 5 minutes tidying, and so that you could actually see my surfaces a little bit and just dive right into this video. Okay, so here I am. This is my door as I come in, and I've got just, I'm going to show you kind of how these are laid out a bit. I've got some shelving here. I actually had some glass doors on here, and I took them off because they just were causing some reactions, because here is where I film myself a lot of times. So you can see my books behind me, and then I'll be sitting here and filming, and then you can actually see this glass behind. So I got rid of it, and the sound quality is better and all of that. And it just is a nice space for me to be able to work. So I'll get into a little bit of detail here in a sec, but I just wanted to kind of show you, yes, I have stuff stuffed under my desk because there's not enough space. This is keeping it real. I got myself a chapel chair, which is where people keep Bibles in churches, and that's kind of fun. I got myself this desk, which is for my own personal space. It's where I do a lot of sewing and personal creativity that isn't necessarily the same. It's more hobby-ish, but it's also for cutting board and printing and all of that kind of stuff, and that's where I've got a lot of sewing stuff. And I guess you could call that personal, but that's about all that's personal in this space. So here is my desk, and this is where I do a lot of my creativity, as you can imagine. And there's a creative piece, a watercolor piece that I made there. It says, if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never get anything done. Ecclesiastes 11:4. And I live by that. So as you can see, I have quite a bit of stuff stacked into a very small space here. And then I've got a few things on the wall there. Then what I've got, this was actually my grandmother's, and so I keep that full of kind of office-y type things. In here is where I keep a lot of the electronic type items. I've got a lot of electrical equipment in order to, camera equipment and different things like that. So that's all that. And then in here, I keep a lot of creative supplies. I've got more, that's pens and pencils in that stack, and I've got some stuff on the desk. I've got paints there, and all of these charts to help me with color. And then I've got a few office bits in the bottom of this one, a few paintbrushes, various things, some inks and gelatos, all of that kind of thing. And then over on my shelf, I know you're gonna have lots of questions, and I'm gonna do my best, but I can't link to everything, as you can imagine, because it would be very difficult to link to my entire studio. So work with me. If you want to learn about any of these things, then just tell me what kind of videos you want in the comments, and that can help me make more in the future. So I use this chair for Bible reading and to read and study and just catch up on various things, or if somebody is visiting with me, and that's really handy. I've got this ergonomic chair, and this is a sit-stand desk, so it will pop up electronically. If I click the button on the side, it will go up and down, and that really helped my back a ton when I was getting going with all of the work. I was using just a stationary sit desk, and I started going to the chiropractor, and they just said to me, you need to do something, you're sitting too much. And I found it so helpful. So that was a necessary purchase at some point to just keep me in good shape, and it's been great. So this is a microphone that's a Rode stand and Blue Yeti microphone, and on a shock absorber, and then I've got a webcam on a scissor arm. It's a very specific type of arm from Manfrotto, and I then have that all connected to a stand behind me, and then I rarely turn on this extra space, but sometimes you just need a little bit of extra space when you've got too many projects going and it all is filling your screen. So I put that up there and just turn it on rarely. And then this camera here, I've got one here that faces me, and this one faces down onto the desk in case I'm doing some live filming, because sometimes I do live sessions for Heart to Freedom members and other things, and that way I can actually do my live session with my camera and computer and all that, and you can see my desk, which is kind of fun. So that's how I do that. Got myself an iPhone stand, water always, and just, you know, the basic kind of stuff that you'd expect with an office space, and, you know, clips and staples and, you know, all the things, scissors, whatnot. And of course, a beautiful cactus, and it is in a full bloom at the moment, and it's got this massive little sprout that's come out of it in the shape of a cross, which is quite interesting. I don't actually know the name of the type of cactus, but it's fun. And so I keep a few pens here for markering things up. And then in this shelf, I think, is where a lot of people have questions, but I'll get over to the other desks in a second. So what I've got here is some die cut supplies, so some dies, and then it goes into more dies in here. And then I transition into stamps, and I go through some stamps, and there's some stamp platforms, and then there's more stamps, and then stencils. And the way in which I do these is something that I borrowed from someone, I can't remember who. Here's an example. So what I do is I get a Ziploc, and I put a piece of cardstock in there, and I put a label maker on that tells me the brand and the name of it, and then I put the stamp set inside this, or the stencil, or the die, or whatever it is, right inside here. And then anytime I have extras, I just put it in the back of that thing. So then I can actually fit just tons and tons of stuff in here without really needing all of the packaging that comes with it, which is really handy. And then periodically I can just go through and say, I don't need that. So sometimes I'll put in an extra magnetic thing if there's some dies and these little metal bits that you cut with, and that's keeps that all in place. And then over here is some more of these, and then as you get further down in, then it just changes to stencils and that sort of thing. So that's how I keep all of those. And as you can see, sorry for the bumpiness, this is really a compact amount of space for a lot of stamps, and I don't think I have as many as other people, but they work really well for me. And I don't keep them in any specific order, but I kind of clump them according to theme a little bit, and that way if I'm looking for something floral or, you know, greenery or something like that, then I can find that, or sentiments together, that sort of thing. But I'm I'm not perfect. I get disorganized just like the rest of us, so I don't worry too much about it. And what matters is that I'm organized and I can find generally what I'm looking for. And so that works for me. So I've got a few like businessy and healing and books on like spiritual growth and personal growth and things like that. And then over here I've got lots of drawing, illustration, painting, all of that kind of thing. Some great Bible journaling stuff. And then here I've got lots of creative inspiration. So I've got everything from felt to painting, colored pencil, sewing machine basics, quilting, color theory, you name it. It's there. And mixed media, lots of different things. So for me, whenever I am teaching on a particular topic, I will often go to some of the best books that I have found on a specific topic and really dive into that, stamp carving, all of that sort of thing, and then just keep 3 to 5 books, 1 to 5 books of something that is really going to help me with a specific topic. And if I'm really trying to learn a little bit more, I'll get a bit more, but I just tend to try and keep my collection very specific. And I think these books are really interesting to me, that you might find interesting, is to get a hold of things like Wildflowers Encyclopedia, the World Encyclopedia of Fish and Shellfish and Butterflies and natural history, wildflowers, trees and leaves. This is a couple I got from my grandma after she passed away, which are different types of costume and things that people used to wear at different eras. Nature drawing and how to draw what you see, and all of these sorts of things are interesting. I then have a lot more here, and these are bullet journals that I've gone through. If you have seen my course inside my Heart's Freedom membership, I have one called the Spiritual Life Journaling 101, and that goes into how I do bullet journaling. And so I've been doing it for years, and I absolutely love being able to combine your spiritual life and your practical life together. And so I teach how to do that in that course, which is in my Heart's Freedom membership. And then, of course, I've shown you this shelf, and up here is more. I've got my illustrating Bibles. These are from Dayspring, and there's a whole handful of them, different ones, but they've got massive margins, and they are really, really wonderful. Of course, because I teach, I've got a handful of these, but you certainly don't need so many. And over here, I've got lots of things on lettering, calligraphy. I've got these from my grandpa. He was into that, so I got all of his calligraphy nibs and everything like that when he passed away. And then I've got in here things about watercolor, lettering, Bible journaling, lots of that kind of stuff. And then as I go up, I have a handful of Bibles that I am working through in this space here, some art journals, some Bibles that I read. So these are Bibles that I'm kind of actively creating in or working with the majority of these. And that is just my process, but I do actually use about 4 Bibles as my go-to Bibles that I create in. And I do have a journaling Bible guide. I also have a supplies guide, both on my blog. So if you go to RebekahRjones.com and just look under Bible journaling, you're going to find both of those guides, and they'll show you my favorite supplies and my favorite Bibles. And then over here, these are Bibles that I have either been given or bought for review or to give away and that sort of thing. So this kind of revolves. Sometimes I'll review things to show you guys inside what they are. And then I will make sure that they get into good hands again, because I don't want to just have Bibles sitting around, but sometimes they do for a little while I'm looking after them. I've got some really old Bibles here, which is really special. This is just more things on calligraphy and creative Bibles, that sort of thing. And I've got some old family tree stuff here because I am really into family tree history. I've been doing family history. I've been the family historian for nearly 30 years now, and I've spent a lot of time in doing that, and I really enjoy being able to see what God has done in my family history. So a few more interesting Bibles that are on like study and things like that. And then up here I've got some papers and like creative papers, and then you can see I've stacked it up high. There's some palettes for teaching, and I've got some napkins for doing collage. And this is actually, I used to sell beaded jewelry before I ever had this art ministry actually, and so that is all of my bead supplies in there. Plus I have down here in this container, this case is full of all of my beading supplies. So occasionally I'll take them out and make my own stuff, which is fun. So just an example of what kind of stuff is in here. This is where I've got all of my watercolor paper and specialty papers like that. And then a couple of examples here. Here I have some light pads and drawing tablets and that kind of stuff. So it's just very officey on this end. And then we've got a lot of watercolor palettes right here. So all of these are they're full of watercolor, and they're just different brands, different things. I've got colored pencils here, Inktense pencils. There is a die cut machine, and then here are pens, and there's plenty of them because I review things, you know. And then I've got my charts that I've made. My arm is a little bit impeded by this thing here, so this is my other Rode mic, and then I've got this camera here. So sometimes when I do a second view, this camera comes out, and then I'm ready to film a second view while I have a first view right here straight down on my desk. And then I've got this big pole here which actually sections to the floor and the ceiling, and then that keeps everything in its place. And then I've got these softbox lights to help with everything being able to be nice and well lit in this space so that there's no shadows. So now if I pop these out of the way, sorry, then what I've got here is a paper towel for actually, you know, cleaning, but also for watercolor. And then I've got some old watercolor tubes that are ready for use whenever. I've got this for helping me with color theory, and some water brushes, some watercolor brushes. I keep my water here for watercolor and for water media type stuff. If you're interested in any of these charts, I actually show how to make almost all of these charts in my Color Made Simple course, and it's really, really easy. I've got templates and everything, and explain how they work and everything to try and teach you about watercolor. So this is acrylic paint, and I think everything is organized better when you can see it in color format like that. I think it's fun to look at and whatnot. So yeah, like things like this course, I'll link that. Any of those key things, I'll, like my membership, I'll link that. So that's all page prep type stuff, and anything to do with texture and all of that on the page, and a few neo color too. This is my watercolor palettes that I've got here, and I also have more watercolor palettes in here depending. So these are like Gonzai Tombi, for example, and a few others. And then in this here, I've got a few palette knives and that kind of tools for stuff. And here's some brushes here. Now, I actually keep up here all of my stamping inks and distress inks and gelatos, and those are Neocolor 2 watercolor crayons. So I keep all of that there. This camera, I just got this in France while we were on a cruise, and it is a working camera that is so old and so beautiful, and is French. It's just lovely. I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna move that out of the way. This thing actually lifts up, and I've got more of my brushes in there. And yes, I have a toothbrush because it adds fabulous texture when you're trying to do a starry night and you want to get some light in there with some whites. Tip for you, sorry for the noise. So yeah, I keep my brushes like that, the majority of them, to keep them nice and protected from the dust, but these ones I keep out because I use them all the time. And then I've got a watercolor brush holder here and some watercolor paper. I'm spending a lot of time doing watercolor these days, and I really, really enjoy it. So it's good to keep in front of you like this, the things that are going to bring you joy and cause you to feel inspired. And for me, that makes me feel inspired looking at all of that color. And so I hope you found this super interesting and helpful. Before I let you go, I'll just show you through here. This is super packed full of dot cards and that sort of thing for watercolor, and making choices on watercolor and color swatches, all of that. And then I've got more here, see, and keeping things nice and clean. And then I've got lots and lots of cases of creative stuff, and so these are everything from pencils and Inktense and specialty things. So those are all there for me, chalk pencils, whatnot. This is a really fun one for me. Aside from this, which probably should be a drawer down, this is all for doing my own stamp carving or doing chipboard, letter press type stuff. So I've got a bunch of things in here for that, and that is a lot of fun. So that is from a long time ago. I started that collection, and I started this collection when I was in high school many years ago. So many of these inks are from a long time ago when I started calligraphy. So I've got a lot of calligraphy inks in here, and alcohol inks and spray inks and watercolor inks and all the things, and carbon ink for Lamy Safari pens, and you name it. There's lots, Winsor and Newton. And so sometimes it's fun to have these sorts of things in here, but you know, I'm human. There's a few things that slip in occasionally, but this is some foiling. I could put it here, I could put it in the drawer over there, but ultimately, as long as it's in a drawer and it's roughly with the right creativity, we're good. I like this Make Art Station thing here. I've got the small and big one, and those are fabulous for using for watercolor. And I've got a little bench here for doing creativity when I'm out and about. There is my heat tool. And then right here, I've got all my scissors and knives and rulers and mechanical pencil supplies. Here is a bunch of washi tape. I keep in here lots of tape and a few jars. And this is ephemera, so everything from tags to things like these embossing powders and extra bits of paper and card and things that you can do to make mixed media projects. And this is my drawer full of stamping stuff. So I've got some platforms and cleaners and, you know, everything you can imagine there. So yeah, keeps me busy, keeps me creative, all of these things. And I feel so blessed to have this space, but I also use it for work. It is a place where I keep busy doing work, and you can see everything has its purpose. I'm busy actually making creative things, and What's important to me, and that I would stress to you, is that if you want to do creative things, get stuff out in front of you. Make it visible to you in some way, whether that's in a little thing, like let me show you here. Whether you just have something like this where you keep a few supplies, or whether you have something more like this, whatever that looks like, get it in front of you, get it so that you can be creative and enjoy the process of creativity more often, because you can see those supplies, you can use them, you can enjoy them, and they're not just there to inspire you. So get the space lived in, get it working for you, and make it something that you can feel comfortable just being yourself with, so that you aren't feeling precious around those supplies, and instead you're just feeling inspired and you want to just be able to sit down at a moment's notice and get creative, whether that's on a chair or in a desk, and wherever that space is. Have fun. Show me what you're creating. I'd love to see it. You can email me anytime. I'll put my details below and any links that I can, and I will look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Tell me, what about my art studio inspires you the most? What are you thinking you definitely want to try for your own creative space? Have I given you any ideas? I want to hear from you in the comments. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do. I'd love to be able to make sure that you hear about my videos when they come out. So click the subscribe button and I'll see you soon.